Amateur Hour. Here we are, Dani and Daron, and another great show. I like to say looking ahead to the draft in 2023, but it always turns out to be way more than that. And I'm also underselling it if I say just looking ahead to the college season. But this show, Dani has managed to book and produce in two incredible guests. So, D, it's one thing to be Dylan Cruz, right? I mean, we've in the baseball world anyway, in the prospect world, we've known about Dylan Cruz since, I don't know, 2016, 2015. This was a select festival player going back a long time ago. So, it's one thing to be that. So we've known about him forever and a day since 2016. But we got him, and you grabbed him to bring him in. So we've known him. We've had good interviews with him. But this Dylan Cruz is a different version. This Dylan Cruz has grown up. Not that he hadn't been in the past, but he was a little bit more reserved. This Dylan Cruz has made it clear that he plans on being a good player, and he gambled on himself. And I love that because he could have been drafted in 20. He may be 1-1 coming up in next year's draft, number 1 overall pick. But this is also partly his team this year at LSU. I think what interests me the most is his willingness to take this team over as a player leader.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You said it best. Like, he is not the same person at all. And I got to see him last year at the SEC tournament, and I could see the evolution a little bit. But this guy that we just had a chance to talk to is a dude who's basically turned into a butterfly, right? The caterpillar phase, he shed everything, and he's made like massive transitions. He wanted to go to college. You said that. He moved from right field to center field last year. He's changed his swing a little bit. He's taken over as a leader. Dude's got the mustache, the flow, like he's got the whole 9 yards. And the best thing he said was explaining how he didn't take the easy way. And that's made all the difference. Like, he's so Robert Frost on us here and dives deep into that. And I loved it. I loved hearing that because it is rare, like you said, to see a guy who bets on himself, goes to the SEC and could be the 1-1 pick in this draft. I mean, it sounds like he had the best time of his life in college, and I'm pretty envious of all those great choices that he made. I feel like he's just really done it right. So I'm excited that we got to have him on the podcast and before the big year, because this is going to be a big year for him.
Yeah, it's huge. I think it's fun when you go to visit his Twitter. Folks, go visit his Twitter feed, because what he has pinned at the top is, in fact, his commitment to LSU from 2017. He's got NIL deals. There are people in Sports Illustrated writing articles about him. You could pin whatever you want at the top of your feed, or let alone just your latest tweet, retweeting some Dig Me article that someone wrote about you. But it's that one. And I love the fact that he keeps that one at the top of his Twitter feed. That's kind of the perspective that he has, that he made that choice. I remember he said to us in a bio, I wrote it down, I felt the love there, and the atmosphere was amazing. That's why I committed to go to LSU. He said that to us back in 2019 in a bio questionnaire before the showcase. Now, Brock Wilken is also on this show from Wake Forest. Cruz from LSU, Wilken from Wake Forest, a slugging third baseman, a one-time catcher at the high school level, a very good catcher. I think he falls more into that club of what we've been lucky enough to have on the show the last couple of podcasts of guy who's kind of a guy coming out of high school and then just takes it and runs with it. I mean, when you hit 40 home runs in your first 2 years as a college player, when you had no senior season, like, you can play. I mean, and you can flat play. So for me, talking to Brock, there were many things that surprised me in there. His relationship with big name people, like big name people in the big leagues, or, the simplest way that he keeps in touch with his travel coach, and didn't fail to mention anyone that's touched his life without us prompting him to do so. The tie to the big leaguers is great, but the humility to mention all those great people that have touched his life, that rang really cool to me.
And it's a tale of two different guys, right? You got Dylan Cruz, who's like, I'm chill, I'm relaxed. Like, you feel like he's from California. And then Brock Wilken, the energy is different, and it doesn't make one better or worse, but Brock Wilken seemed to just be really excited and over the top. And I love to see that from him. And I loved that he talked about his parents and that he's best friends with his uncle, who he played for, Chris Wilken, who was drafted and played in the minor leagues. And they made that huge transition. So I like to hear that journey a little bit, because this guy can hit bombs. You talked about a specific game that he had last season and what he did in that game and what that felt like. And he talked about it, but he turned the page. Like, he didn't dive in. He didn't make it about himself again. So like a really selfless guy who's put in the work and has this really tight circle around him of people who are making him better. And again, it's showing you're going to college and you're developing and you're taking advantage of the opportunity, because college has changed a lot since both of those guys have been in it. The NIL deals, you mentioned, the technology, the science, the food, everything about it. I mean, Dylan Cruz went through a coaching change throughout his time so far at LSU. So it's been cool. I'm so excited that we got to know him, because I didn't know a ton about Brock. And so I'm glad that we got to have him on.
Also on this podcast, we'll take a piece of the pizza pie that is Perfect Game College Baseball, weekly streaming show that can be seen on Perfect Game TV. And we had on the Cape Cod League MVP from this year. Wilken was the MVP last year. This year's MVP was Matt Shaw from Maryland. So Hunter Pence and he like slice and dice it up. This is another intelligent kid with deep thoughts like both of these guests. And then what you have 30-year scout and Perfect Game's vice president of player personnel dumping something into our content bucket. What's David Ronsley sharing?
Oh yeah. So Ronsley has been all over the place. He's been traveling, and that's nothing new for him, right? Because we know Rons likes to get on the road. He likes to drive. He's been to a lot of regional showcases, and he is absolutely going to dive in a little bit. He told me maybe the fall Atlantic Coast 13U, 14U fall Atlantic Coast as an example. I just repeated myself twice, but I'm reading what Ronsley said to me.
That's all right. I know he's at some all-state games recently too, so those are a little bit older guys, and so it'll be interesting to hear from that. So that's what we've got in this podcast. Let's get it cranky. Give it a listen. We're glad you found it, and make sure you keep finding it. Let's get this thing going. Dani and I tend to, and I think the world tends to, Dylan, like people that bet on themselves. We kind of started this podcast with Matt McClain, who bet on himself and went to UCLA. It worked out great for him. I know you know the name. A couple of years ago, you bet on yourself. You could have gone and played pro ball, and it would have been off and running. 20 was a wonky draft and a wonky year. So now, as we sit here today, how joyful are you? How fulfilled are you that you did bet on yourself? You're not there yet. I mean, you still have a lot you want to accomplish, but how joyful and fulfilled as we sit here today are you that you bet on yourself?
Yeah, it was definitely the best decision I've ever made. No doubt. I mean, taking my name out of the draft the week before in high school, it was a very tough decision for me. But at the end of the day, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to college and experience all of this. I felt like this was a time in my life where I couldn't miss out on. And, it's just been awesome here. They've been open arms with me. They've had every single development, tool and everything that I've needed here really to just become the best player that I could be, leading up to the draft. So, like I said earlier, it's just been the best decision I've ever made. And, I'm glad I came here.
Your generation lives in noise. You just do. I mean, you guys do, whether it's through your devices, to, your computers, your generation, and we all do now. Your generation lives in noise, though. My guess is, though, the noise that you had in 18, 19, 20, a lot of attention, you earned it, an amazing player at the prep level. I'm guessing the noise is different now, and you could choose to look at it if you want to. The noise now says maybe 1-1, and that's what the noise says. Getting older, has it been able to where you kind of are able to pick and choose what you pay attention to, where maybe as a senior in high school, junior in high school, that probably was a little harder. Are you able to kind of sift through that stuff now as a more mature man?
Yeah, 100%. In high school, as a young kid like that, it's hard to deal with all that type of stuff. Your life's going to change as you're, as an 18-year-old kid. It's just how it is. But now that I'm going at the second time around, you know what I mean. So like I've been through this situation before. I know what to expect, how to deal with all these the meetings and all the I guess all the hype coming around. So it's just, I'm just soaking it all in, taking it day by day and, enjoying every moment, especially here too, because, this is the best time of your life right now, and especially here at LSU. And, I'm just enjoying it, soaking it in every single day with the guys, and it's been great.
It's sorry, Dani, it's rare because you're in a tiny group. Now, draft eligible guys that are being thought of highly for next year, that's a large group. Now, It's small compared to the world, but there's a lot of guys in that room that they're thinking about. But there's a tiny, tiny group that were considered high and then years later are right there. Does that make sense? Like, you actually have something that you're not supposed to get to your 40s. You actually have wisdom. You actually have a little bit of wisdom. You know what I mean? And I'm guessing you enjoy spending that wisdom on yourself. In some ways, you have to be, you're a unique blend. You're a bit of an old soul in this draft class.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, like I said earlier, I've been through all these situations before, know what to expect, and it all starts with the right people around me, and surrounding myself with the right type of the right people, and it all goes back to my parents. Those are the people I lean on to every day. Just talking with advice, and if I have any troubles, I just go to them.
Okay, I'm going to use a big word, Daron. Watch out. You are an anomaly, right? You bucked the trend. You could have gone and gotten drafted, and you could be working your way up. Who knows? You may have made your debut at this point. There are kids in your class, right, who have. But I want to know, like, who is Dylan, the college kid? Because you wanted the experience, and often we don't get to know who would Bobby Wood Jr. have been in college, right? Like, who are you as a college kid? Where are your favorite places to go on campus? What's your favorite thing to do? Like, what do you do as Dylan, just the college kid?
He's pretty chill, honestly. Like, everybody knows me as like the chill teammate who just does his thing, pretty even the whole day. Not like he doesn't have any highs or lows. He's just pretty even the whole day. I mean, part of the reason why I came here was definitely because of the food. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going hungry here at all. That's a big thing. So I love it. It's a big adjustment being a Florida boy, coming here and having all the the Louisiana food, and it's been awesome. They've been open arms with me. It's just been great. But yeah, like, going out of high school, I wanted to be a draft guy out of high school. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to do it for Lake Mary, do it for Orlando. But at the same time, I wanted to come here and experience this. So really, I took the stairs. A lot of people, one of my favorite sayings is, some people took the elevator, but I took the stairs. I took my time with it, and it's not a rush at the end of the day. So yeah, I'm enjoying every moment, like I said, and it's been great so far.
I'm obsessed with that. That's like one of the best things I've heard in a really long time. So while you've taken the stairs, what's the experience been like? Has it lived up to what maybe you thought it would be? Bring us with you on that walk.
Yeah, no, coming on my official visits here, it's probably been way better than I was ever expecting it to be. Playing in front of 13,000 people every single day is pretty fun, and it's helped me out a lot, being able to prepare for situations like in the future where I'm going to be playing in front of even, way more people, so it's just been it's helped me out a lot, with little things and even with big things. So it's been great. Every step's been awesome. It's crazy how fast it's flown by. And my last year, my one goal is to go to Omaha, and I'm soaking in every moment I can this last year.
Great article in Sports Illustrated. Here's the quote: "When I speak, people listen more." What is the responsibility that goes along with that?
Yeah, definitely. The first 2 years, I feel like I had to kind of, I guess earn my stripes, or like earn my respect to be able to speak a little bit more. So, it's my last year. I feel like I've earned that kind of respect. And, one of my goals this year is to use my voice more. And since day one, since the first day I walked in, this year, I've used my voice, and everybody's been on the train. Everybody's bought in. And, that I think, when I speak, people tend to listen. And even Coach Jay has told me that. He's like, it's more important, and it gets to more people when you speak sometimes rather than when I speak. So being a leader on this team is very important to get to where we want to be this year. And obviously we want to get to Omaha and win the national championship. So I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone as much as I can, and do what I can to, get the guys all on the same train.
So as I crave an example, understanding growing up in a locker room with my father, playing in one, myself, I don't want you to violate the room, but come as close as you can. Give me an example of what you're talking about since you guys got together in August and when you came back, where you talked to one, two, or every one of your teammates where you felt it was your responsibility? I'd love an example.
Yeah, I mean, it's just little things like having the guys go to dinner together, you know what I mean? Instead of having little groups of, like the freshmen and the younger guys and then the older guys all sitting together, have everybody go together all at once to the nutrition center and eat together as a team. Or, I mean, for example, we here in the team meeting rooms, after practice or a game, have everybody stand up and say one thing we need to work on or something we need to improve on. And as a program to, I guess, fulfill our max potential to get to where we want to be as a team.
I love that. I feel like when we talk to Jay about coming over to the program, taking over, being in the SEC, I'm pretty sure he said to me, the first thing I asked was, how much eligibility does Dylan Cruz have left? Because I want to be here for that guy. What kind of impact has Jay Johnson had on you as a person and a player?
He's made a tremendous impact on me. I mean, it's crazy how, things just align, the way they are. I loved Coach Maneri. Don't get me wrong. Coach Maneri was awesome. He allowed me to get my feet in the water at college and, taught me a lot of things, but it's crazy how, how people are just brought into your life for certain reasons. And Coach Jay has been able to come in my life and help me out as a player and as a person and teammate. Just with hitting, especially, he's a hitting guy. So I've learned a lot with that, and just being able to go out of my comfort zone. One of those things, just be comfortable being uncomfortable, and that's just been a tremendous thing that I've been carrying around with me for these past 2 years.
Yeah, I think you told me when I saw you last year at the SEC tournament that you shortened up your swing. Was that between years you did that? So is there anything that you have made an adjustment to at the plate this season, or is it just about kind of harnessing what you feel like is your best swing and your best presence in the box?
Yeah, I think really I'm just trying to polish everything at the end of the day. I'm not trying to do too much. I'm not trying to get out of what I've been doing. Coach Jay, he's helped me out a lot with simplifying everything, keeping everything 75%, and just not trying to do too much. His thing is seeing the ball first, and if you can't see the ball, you can't hit the ball. So really just calming your head down, seeing the ball first, and just trying to get your best swing off at the right pitch. Not trying to get out of the strike zone and swing at a bad pitch. Just get your pitch and you swing at the right one.
Ton of events, man. Jupiter as a baby in 17 and 18, then Jupiter as a senior in 19. USA, a couple of golds, if I'm not mistaken, and you had a great experience this summer. But I want to mainly go back to your high school age group. Were you able to have a bit more of an instant impact at LSU and make that decision more confidently because you played the level of travel ball you did? And as I said, PG, USA, you did other things, but with whether it be with the Scorpions at Jupiter a couple of times, do you feel like taking on that travel ball, that challenge, has allowed you to maybe step a little further quickly in college?
Yeah, no doubt. I'm sure you remember as a 2020, I was always playing in the 2019 class. I was always playing up throughout the whole, through freshman year through junior year until they graduated. Then I played 2020 my last year. But that helped me out a lot because I was coming in as a freshman here at LSU. I was known as the guy who took his name out of the draft to come to school. So, there's a lot of expectations that I needed to kind of like fulfill. So, but really at the same time, I've experienced all this stuff. Like I said earlier, like I've been through all this, playing up, I guess, living around the hype and fulfilling all these expectations. But it's been great. I've adjusted to it tremendously and, just really did my thing and soaked it all in.
Who'd you hit your first college home run off of?
Gotcha. Yeah, I can't. He's one of my teammates now. He's unbelievable.
Come on, man. Say his name for us. We'll let you love on him.
I love the kid.
Folks, he hit it off of Paul Skeens. His first college home run was off of Paul Skeens. Now, folks, he got on his first college game 3 times, but his second game, and it was in the 9th inning. It was late in that game. He hit it off of Skeens. So I like that bit. That's a fun bit. It worked. I got to laugh. Now tell me what kind of dude he is. I rarely ask about anybody.
We love Paul.
I
We
rarely
love
ask about
Paul.
other teammates. I usually focus on you guys only. But I got to know your perspective on Paul, man, as a teammate.
I love Paul to death, man. He is awesome. He's a great teammate, a great person. You know, when he comes in here, he's one of the hardest workers I've ever seen. First of all, like comes in here and just gets it done, gets after it. And you know, I'm just, like I said earlier, it's crazy how you know, how the people are brought into your life for a reason. And I've learned so much from him. You know, as a teammate and as a player, he just works so hard, and I'm just glad to have him a part of the team. And you know, just I'm really happy he's on my side and not on another team. So
he's in your book,
my
though. He is in your
gosh.
book, though. That's all. We'll just leave it at that. Sorry, go ahead.
We talked to Paul last year, but we were big fan of Paul, and obviously Jay Johnson, big fan of the transfer portal too. We saw all that, right? Tommy White, when you saw him and his name come through, knew that guy was going to be on your team. He earned Tommy Tanks. I mean, you got to be excited to have him on your side, right?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. That kid has some of the craziest power I've ever seen. I mean, he just generates so much power through the zone, and it's unbelievable. But you know, that's another guy that I kind of pick his brain on, you know, with hitting and everything like that. You know, he's just a great kid, great teammate, you know, bought in, you know, I guess lived around the hype, like you know, as a freshman, and you know, just soaked it all in. He's never let that get to him once. He's just the same old person since the first day he's walked in.
My last one for you, as you mentioned, so you're walking around campus, you are well fed. Coach is definitely not letting you guys probably be hungry at any moment of the day. So when Daron and I come visit campus and see you, where are you taking us? Is it on campus? Is it off campus? Like, what are we eating? What does it look like? Like, paint us a picture. Take us with you.
Ooh, we can go in all sorts of directions. If you're looking for like some good sandwiches, we can go to Phil's Oyster Bar. We can go to Sammy's. We can go to man, there's so many different places here. Like whatever you want, they have it here, and it's whatever you're thinking, it's times 10 here. It's unbelievable. So you won't go hungry, that's for sure.
And maybe our good friends at Louisiana National Bank can buy our meal, right? Good friends and partners.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I love the NIL. You're out there a little bit. That's got to be fun for you. You know, I mean, I had jobs when I was in college. They were different, but it allows you guys to do a little work, to grow your enterprise a little bit. You got to love that part of your game now.
100%. Yeah. I love that college athletes are getting paid now. You know, it helps us out a little bit, and you know, just makes things a little bit more fun, you know, just kind of going out there and using your name as, you know, as a brand, you know, trying to get out there a little bit more, using social media and all that good stuff. So, you know, it's a new era now, and you know, we're taking it to the fullest and, you know, having a great time.
Yeah, you're at the right program. We want to thank Louisiana National Bank, Go Enterprises, and Boot Up Customs, because they are all. I got to get some of those. I got to have him do me some Oxford dress shoes. Your boy at Boot Up Customs, by the way. That's amazing. What's your weight, Pete? Sorry.
Wait, what did you guys have the boombox last year? Did you have the boombox deal?
Yeah, we had a giant boombox as our home run celebration. Oh, actually, it was like every single run that we scored. At first, it was a home run, and then we just made it to like whatever. Every time we scored, it was just a giant boombox coming out the dugout.
I love it. Oh, it's so good. Dylan, we can't thank you enough. We're stoked for this season, man, but even more so for you to be able to lead this team. It looks like it's going to be a great year for you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys.
Well, you've already heard a little bit of maturity on this podcast. It's interesting. 20-year-olds just bring a different game than they did a generation ago. I don't want to say back when I was young, because that was 2 generations ago, but 20-year-olds just bring a different game now. I mean, they really, really do. And listen, just listen. Perfect Game College Baseball. It drops a brand new one every Thursday on Perfect Game TV, but it's archived on Perfect Game TV. Hunter Pence is my co-host, and he and Matt Shaw started diving in on approach, diving in on hitting, diving in on the college experience. I got lost in this conversation. Here's a little bit. Hunter Pence, and Maryland's Matt Shaw. Shaw, the reigning MVP of the Cape Cod League, talking pitching.
Matt, that is like a fascinating story because, I mean, obviously most of the players in the Cape Cod League will go on to be in the minor leagues, and there's some tremendous talent. But can you describe the experience for you being a kid that would go and watch the Cape Cod games? And, the legend is, I've never seen a Cape Cod game, but I've seen the movies and I know all the players that went there, the history, I study it, I love it. What did it feel like for you to go and play in the league that you watched as a kid growing up?
To me, it kind of just felt like playing baseball still. Being up there, being close to home, having my family able to come watch me play is awesome. You can't really get better than that. It was only about 2 hours from my house. But playing on the Massachusetts high school fields is nothing new to me. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being up there, and baseball is kind of the same game, all the time. So being able to be up there and just playing the game that I've played for the last 16, 17, 18 years of my life is awesome.
Yeah, that definitely is awesome. And what you were able to accomplish was awesome. And reading some of it, a couple of the things intrigued me. Obviously, watching your swing is I have a lot of things to dive into that. But one of the things you mentioned was your conversations with your teammates. And one of the best things about the Cape Cod League is obviously the talent from around the nation coming together. But can you talk to me a little bit? You mentioned how approach was one of the things you learned and you discussed with your teammates. And obviously, the MVP of the league, you won the league. The numbers speak for themselves, Matt. But can you tell me a little bit about the process of that success that you had this summer and what that approach was and what some of these conversations was? And I'm sure that it was a dynamic approach and not just one, but I would love to hear through your lens what that was.
Yeah, so I'm pretty obsessed when it comes to approach. There's a lot of great swings, but obviously, as we all know, baseball is a mental game. And being able to be up there and kind of talk approach to the guys was awesome. So personally, I'm a big proponent of sitting on pitches, guessing pitches, whatever you want to call it. Different counts. I think they're going to throw different pitches. If you watch baseball enough, you kind of have a good feel, even just as a viewer of, okay, this guy might want to go to this pitch in this situation, etc. So that's kind of where a lot of our conversation started, was talking about sitting pitches. And then as the season progressed, we started to talk more. We were lucky enough to have Saltalamacchia, Jared, as our bench coach, who's, sitting there and able to give us some insight, which is really cool. And as the summer went on and conversations continued, I was just able to really kind of set in stone a plan, an approach every day that was able to work. And everyone's different. Everyone has their different little things that they like to do. But for me, if I go up there and I know what pitch I want to sit on, I know what zone I want to hit in, I know where they want to attack me, I know where their pitches work the best, I know if they're sinking, if they're cutting, etc., then I know I'm going to have a pretty good chance at being successful.
I don't know if it's true. My sources have not confirmed with me, Brock, but are you the mayor of Rake Forest? Are you?
I'll probably have to say maybe, but probably not. We got a lot of dudes that can really hit this year, especially last year before that. We take that crown as a team, and we take it personally. We had 2 days. In today's lift, we had a Halloween lift, and we called ourselves Rake Forest. A dude dressed up as a rake and a dude dressed up as a tree. So, we take that crown seriously around here.
Oh, I love that. That's a great answer. A really good answer. But I think that, I know I'm very interested to hear about your development and how you've grown into your own. And so I would love if you could take me into the box with you and describe why your approach works for you and what are some of the little things that you do to find success against some of the best pitching in the country at the college level.
Yeah. So, in the box, first I'll start off, when I go bad is when I start to, really overthink things and, try to do too much in the box, and, try to outthink pitchers and what they're going to throw here. And so, what makes me really good is when I just don't think and I can just go react and I can just go hit, and I don't have to sit on certain pitches. And then, if I sit on one pitch and then I don't get it, am I still going to be ready for a strike? So, my approach of getting back to, crushing the baseball is, seeing a strike, hitting a strike. And my approach is from the 400 sign to our scoreboard, which is in right center. Seeing how hard I can hit 110 line drive in between that area. So, that's my approach, and that's what makes me really good is, I'm locked in on that area. And, once I start to go bad, things start to leak towards the left side of the field. So, that's when things start to go bad, but I'm really good. My power alley is really into the right center gap, center field, and even to left center some as well.
Really quick.
That's all of you.
Really
No,
quick,
jump in
D.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you say don't think, because we hear that a lot, there's nothing up there. Is it radio? Is it white noise? Is it a song? Is it positive affirmations? Or is it literally there's nothing happening besides focus?
So I think there's a couple of different things. As a good hitter, I think you have to have supreme confidence. I think as a really good baseball player, you have to have supreme confidence. That's not mixed with arrogance. I think those two kind of get intertwined a little bit. But I think having supreme confidence in yourself at all times and in your ability with your approach, your swing, your mechanics, all that, I think is really profound for myself. But also I read this article, it was kind of really intrigued me actually, and I did a little bit more research into it, but it was a study on the Marines and when they go for long periods of time on these long plane flights and, they're having to do all these crazy missions, and they tell themselves, don't think over and over until they can just fall asleep or until their mind is completely clear. And that's actually helped me sleep at night, when my mind's just running. And in the box, it really helps me to slow everything down, especially in those big moments where I'm just telling myself, don't think. And, it just allows me to go hit and just go be the hitter that I know I can be.
It's interesting. How tall are you?
6'4.5".
And so the reason I asked that is in watching some of your video, you use every ounce of that height and
For
that
sure.
leverage. You stand tall. In a weird comp, I almost feel like I'm watching when Cal Ripken used to hit. He stood so tall, and he's a tall guy like you, right? On the left side of the infield, guy like you. But I see that. I see you standing tall. I see you slightly open. I see your feet pretty close together, and I see, boy, your bat is coiled and ready to explode. So you told Dani the 400 sign to your scoreboard. Mechanically, what are some things that need to happen mechanically for you to stay in that tunnel of 400 to the scoreboard?
Yeah, so some things mechanically that make me do that is getting into a good postured position when I hit. And that postured position is different for every single guy. But mine is hinging at the hips and riding that hinge out until foot strike, and not letting a single ounce of energy leak onto the left side of the field. So keeping all my momentum, all my energy going towards center field is how everything works and how everything flows in the natural way that it does for me to allow myself to stay to that right center power alley.
Brock, I don't know if anyone told you, but you're not supposed to hit 17 home runs as a freshman in your conference. It's really not supposed to be done. I guess they didn't text you in advance that wasn't supposed to happen. Why were you comfortable early on in college? You had no senior season, really. I mean, your 8 games, you homered a bunch in your 8 games, but no one had a senior season, a true senior season. So why were you able to have that impact in year 1?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It was, I wouldn't say it was an easy transition, but just the teams and the coaches that I've played for really allowed me to make that transition from high school to college just a little bit easier than it should have been for most people. And then my teammates that year were just unreal too. We didn't have the success that we wanted to, but when you're hitting around guys like Bobby Seymour, Chris Lanzilli, Shane Muntz, guys like that, it allows myself to just take a lot of the pressure off myself. And those guys are amazing hitters as well. So it really allows me to just go play the game, and there's no pressure on it, especially as a freshman. There's no expectations of yourself or from anyone else. So it's really easy for, I think, the younger guys to go out there and play. And that's why, another reason I love Coach Wall is because he loves the younger guys. He loves to push those younger guys out to play, and that's his big motto. And, I'm really fortunate and grateful for him and the coaching staff for me to, for them allowing me to get that opportunity.
It sounds like you have a really good group of people around you that have helped support you. And that was such a good question, by the way, Daron. I literally wrote it down. I was like, that's a great guess. Yes, you get an A+ for the podcast today. I wrote it down. And I think that when you're able to be so comfortable and you're able to find that success, it's often because you do have a good support system as well. And you were sharing with us about your uncle, Chris Wilken, who drafted by the Orioles, played through the minor leagues. You went and played for him in high school. And I could imagine it's an interesting dynamic when you're playing for your family, but also somebody who has so much experience and knows what it's like to be drafted to play in the minors. So what did you take away from the experience, whether it was a hard lesson learned, but also an important lesson learned? Maybe they're both.
It was definitely both. When I first got there, it wasn't easy. I was the youngest guy by far on the team. I get to school and I turned 14, a month before school started. And then obviously playing for my uncle was obviously tough. I'm probably one of the better guys out there, for the younger age groups. So, going out there and going through that process wasn't easy. But he made sure that it wasn't easy on purpose, to really teach me a lot of lessons. And I'm very grateful for him and my travel ball coach, Jimmy Osting, with Ostinger's Baseball Academy. Those two guys really developed me and made me the player that I am today. That was, another easy transition from high school to college, was because those guys I had in my support system. So, I really give all my credit to those two guys, with playing ability, playing success, and, helping just me mature along the way.
How do you lean on your experience with the Ostingers? I know Daron and I were talking about it before we got on. We saw them in Jupiter the year before, walk-off win at WWBA. I mean, it's an incredible program with such great talent that comes through. But you mentioned Jimmy. So how has that experience lent its hand to your success in college?
Yeah, Jimmy's one of the best out there for sure. And it's not even close. Just with everything that he does, hitting, pitching, fielding, and just how he runs his organization. And I really love how he runs his organization because I played with the same group of guys from the same county for 4 years. Nowadays in travel ball, that really doesn't happen. You got guys flying in from all over the country. You guys, they never practice. And that was one of the things that Jimmy really harped on, was team culture, team building. And some of my best friends are from that team. Like my one of my greatest friends, Grady McGuire, we're inseparable. And just to go along with that, the amount of talent that we played in those tournaments were just outstanding as well. So, when you have all this bundled up, it becomes much easier for you to enjoy the game, make meaningful relationships with your guys. And then, it just makes it a little bit more fun, makes it a little bit more easy. So you can just go out there and play, and there's, no stress, and the game is the game, and, winning is what we do there. So.
Yeah, we love Jimmy. We're big Jimmy fans. He's a good man. Yeah, we really like him. He got a good one this year, by the way, in Arjun Namala, but multiple good players. But you two guys might have your name called together on the same night. That'll be pretty cool. I want to ask you about Katie and Josh, your parents, because when I hear that a young man moves to a place, another part of the country, from the Carolinas down to Florida. And part of the reason is the son. That means the parents are sacrificial. That means I'm guessing that the son is quite aware of the sacrifices that go into that. But anecdotally, just tell me a little bit about Katie and Josh, a story or two about your parents.
Yep. My parents are awesome. I'm such a homebody that, I am a very individualized person, and I have, my own things that I can do, and I don't mind being away from home. But when I am home, I spend, as much time as I can at home, because that's just who I am as a person. They raised me to be a strong, independent man. And that family comes before anything else. And that was, one of the biggest strong points growing up. And, my dad was tough on me because I was the oldest of three boys. I got two younger brothers at home, so I had to really set a good example for my younger brothers growing up. He made me really mentally tough. And, at the time, being a teenager, I'm like, man, my dad sucks, but,
Sure.
I can look back at it now and be like, man, I really do appreciate my dad and my mom for being in my corner every step of the way. And, that sacrifice that they made moving us from, 650 miles away was unbelievable. And it was the biggest single ask ever. And, I am so grateful, and I just can't wait for the day that, I can repay them.
I can imagine. So May 7th, kind of a crazy day, right? You guys are playing Louisville, and you guys are toe to toe, and it's a 3-2 game. And then you just decide that you're just going to change the face of the game in a 3-inning span. 2-run homer, slam, right? You had 8 of the next 9 RBIs for your team. That doesn't write your whole resume, right? One good broadcast doesn't make my resume, but those are moments that I file away, big moments I've had, Dani has, you. What does a day like that mean? Besides the whole dig me part of it, which you should dig yourself after a day like that, but you look back on a day like that. It's Louisville, right? I mean, you're Wake Forest, but that's Louisville, so yeah. I can say both. Days like that are special. They don't come along very often. That had to be a special night's sleep as you dozed off at night after that day.
Yes, sir. It definitely was. But as soon as the game was over and after dinner, I told myself, we got a series to win. And that was against the number 7 team in the country at the time. And like you said, it is Louisville. So that was a huge game for us, and we needed it really badly. But I just told myself we have a series to win. I gotta go do everything I can the next day. Today's in the past, tomorrow's in the future. So, leave those for what it is and just go win the next day. So, it was great. It was a great feeling. And it was awesome because Gavin Sheets, former alumni of Wake Forest, was down in the fall, and I hit 2 homers in an inter-squad game, and I tried to hit a third. And, as I fly out, and he goes, anyone can hit 2. So, I text him, give him a little crap after the game. I said, anyone can hit 2 in quotation marks. So, I'm thankful for that relationship as well. Him being able to take me under his wing a little bit. And, I'm glad that I have that relationship as well. But, it was a great day, but, just had to win the next one for sure.
You get it, by the way. You get it. You just told me earlier that I asked you a good question. That's a good answer because you answered it. But then the Sheets part, that makes it a great answer. That's a promo Dani can use now. That's a really good answer.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. I feel like you're very energetic. I feel like you're very in tune to, who you are and what you want to be. The amount of people that you've already mentioned in the 15 minutes we've spent with you, like all these good people in your life, like for you, like, because I think that rubs off on you, and then in turn you become that good person and you take that a little bit. So looking back at maybe the hard moment of moving from home and then playing for your uncle and now in college where there's always going to be some ups and downs, like what would you say to your high school self, your very young high school self who maybe was nervous or overwhelmed or didn't know if it was all going to work out? What do you say to that kid now?
Yeah. I'm just gonna name drop a couple other guys that helped me along this way. That kind of made me into the person I am. I'm going to first start off with Richie Martin, former baseball player at University of Florida, now plays for the Baltimore Orioles. I've known him since I was 8 years old. He actually played for my uncle, and he's taken me under his wing since I was 8 years old. And that is one of my guys. You know, I can go to him and be like, hey, man, you know, how do I handle this situation? What do you think about this? And, you know, he'll shoot me straight because that's what he's done since I was 8 years old. And to go along with that is, you know, Rookie of the Year, Home Run Derby champ, Pete Alonso. He's also from Tampa, and we work out at the same place. And, you know, once we finally start to work together, you know, he's texting me at 8, you know, at the night before. He's like, hey, 8 a.m. tomorrow. You going to be there? I'm like, I'm there, you know? So, you know, a couple of those guys like that, you know, really helped me become the person I am today. And, you know, I really am thankful for everyone. And there's an endless amount of people that, you know, I could go on and thank forever. But, you know, going back to your question, I think I tell myself that the work's never done, and to keep going because the job is never done. The job is never finished. And, you know, you still got something to prove. So that's just the chip I've always had on my shoulder. And I think, you know, even now, I think I would still go back and tell my high school self, you know, work's not done. You know, you've accomplished some things, but the work's not done. You got to keep going and keep going and keep going. So yeah, that's my answer.
That's an amazing answer. It's a phenomenal answer. You've done such a great job. This has been a great 20 minutes getting to know you. Thank you so much, Brock, for your time. And honestly, we can't wait to see you crush baseballs this season.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
We like to ask scouts to open up their notebooks, and in this case, their hard drives, and share with us David Ronsley, who's been a scout for, three and a half decades, and he's Perfect Games vice president of player personnel, has seen so much baseball, and still has that youthful passion and wisdom and a great eye for seeing the game. He kind of wanted to share with us, and that means you, the concept of a regional showcase. In other words, maybe you're going to a showcase for the first time. Maybe you've played well for your high school team or for your youth team that travels around, and you want to see where you stand amongst the whole country, get your profile page built up. Maybe your goal is to get to a national showcase. So David's there with his wisdom, his scouting. He's going to kind of peel back some players that he's seen and kind of give the explanation of what and why that regional showcase may impact some players. And who knows, maybe change the journey of some of these athletes. David, open up that scout's notebook. Let's see it through your eyes.
Dani, as you know, when I see you, it's always at a big event. It's at the PG All-American game. It's at a festival. It's at the national showcase, the underclass national. You know, those big events are the things that get on PG TV, get all the attention. They're almost all invite-only events, but there's a huge mass of events that exist on the lower levels of the showcase circuit. And we refer to them informally as our regional showcases. And we have them basically 3 times a year in, you know, late May, early June, at the end of the high school season. August is just completely full of them as the big tournaments, summer tournaments are ending at the end of July. The players are freed up a bit from their travel teams. And then again, after Jupiter here in late October and early November. In fact, I'm in a stretch of 4 and 4 weeks right now. I was in Hoover 2 weeks ago. I was in, it's hard to remember. I was in High Point last week, and I'm in Houston. I fly off to Houston tomorrow morning, and I'm in Dallas the weekend after that. And as our lead showcase scout, I probably go to 12 to 15 regional showcase weekends a year. And each regional showcase is generally a combination of a 13-14 U event for the younger players, and then a underclass or an event for the older players. And they generally get about 80 to 120 players. So we really get the whole variety. For a lot of them, it's their first PG showcase experience. And that's really kind of an important part of it. These are players that have gone to PG showcases, PG tournaments. They play with their summer teams, whether it's in a smaller tournament or down in Atlanta or Florida or wherever. And they get exposed to Perfect Game. They find out, their parents find out more, they find out more, and they want to get their numbers, their individual numbers. And of course, for many of them, it's it's the best way is to go to a regional showcase. And we have so many of them. I tried to looked at the map, and I bet you there's only, unless you live in Alaska or Montana or parts of Wyoming, you're within a 500-mile drive of a PG regional showcase. There's no place in the country that we don't have them, except for the two areas I mentioned. There's no desire to have a Alaskan showcase for some reason. We did have one in Hawaii this year though, so somehow I didn't get invited to that. But again, getting back to the concept, it's to get these players, and a lot of them are the younger players. The 13, 14U part of the event is really big. We see a lot of players that are just adjusting from the smaller fields to the larger fields. That can get difficult. But as I'll mention with some of these examples, we have some very talented 27 players, eighth graders, who right after the event, we're getting those names to Jeremy Brown to get on the national invite lists. So it's all part of the process to build up to these bigger events, to get these kids the attention, especially the bigger kids they want for their potential college careers. And just generally, as Jerry Ford would say, grow the game. But that's it about the regional showcases. Let me dive into the 4 players that I mentioned. And this is from last week in High Point, North Carolina. We had about 80 players there, 6 teams worth, and split between the different age groups. And what I'm going to do is highlight a player from each class: a 2024, a 2025, a 2026, and a 2027, and sort of highlight the player a bit, but also why that type of player, it's beneficial for them to go to a PG regional showcase. I'll start with the 2024, Cole Avady from Wilmington, North Carolina. He's a primary right-handed pitcher, but from what I understand, he hasn't played for a big national travel club because he wants to play shortstop. And he's a good shortstop. He's like a PG 8th grade shortstop, somebody who can play junior college, NAIA, D2. But on the mound, he is a definite Division I guy. He has no commitment, please keep in mind. He was 87, 89 with just a gorgeous arm action, good curveball, good changeup, perfect arm action to add a power slider. And he's a guy that can pitch almost at any D1 school in the country. He's going to get bigger and stronger, and he's athletic. And I have no doubt that next year he'll be throwing 90 to 93 with more power to the breaking ball. And so Cole Avady from Wilmington, North Carolina, is a guy who, on basis of that showcase, might even jump into I'm going to be considered for national showcase next year. The 2025 is a big right-handed pitcher by the name of Luke Heaps, 6'5", 170 pounds, and boy, he's still growing into his body. It's a long, lean body. He's from Apex, North Carolina, by the way. And he was up to 84 with his fastball, was really impressive spinning the ball, close to 2,500 spin rate on his curveball. But if he did a few things with his delivery, my gosh, he'd be in the upper 80s right now. And we're talking about a kid who might still be 15 years old, 6'5", 170. He has the potential to really take a jump. I don't know whether he's ever had a good pitching coach, but when he does, he could take off. And he's a guy that maybe not this year, but next year is going to start getting into those coaches, onto their foul lists and getting into the recruiting cycle. The 2026 I wanted to mention is a shortstop from Ohio. He had a 7-hour drive. We talked to his family there, named Matthew Mansberry. And Matthew, a freshman, 6'1", 145 pounds, all of it in his legs, very high-waisted young man. But he could play high-level college defense, I think, right now at shortstop. Just an outstanding defensive shortstop, has all the actions, a good enough arm now that's just going to get better. But he was just a joy to watch play shortstop. And any college program in the country, they're going to want to have that level of defense at shortstop. He wasn't on our map before. He's going to be on our map now. I have no doubt that we will be getting him to some big name events in the future. But he was very impressive, and colleges will definitely pay attention to him pretty early in the recruiting cycle. The 2027, very interesting guy. With the 8th graders and with the freshmen, you get a lot of players who still play multiple positions. They really haven't settled on the position. Jalen Moore from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, about 5'11", 140 pounds, a lot of growing to do still, but he's a primary shortstop. That's where he's listed. That's where he worked out. But then we gave him 2 innings on the mound, and he was up to to 79, which is very good for an 8th grader. But the impressive thing was the spin rate on his curveball. As you know, we're now using spin rate guns at every showcase, even the regional showcases. But we had an 8th grader throw on over 2,500 spin rate curveballs. And I haven't talked to Jeremy about whether he runs into that much. I certainly haven't. But very athletic kid. Yeah, he could develop as a shortstop. But I think Jalen Moore is going to be a very good right-handed pitcher just based on what I saw and what that spin rate told me about his arm. So those are an example of 4 guys who different age levels, different stages in their development, different stages in their college recruitment process that can benefit from a regional showcase. And I said, I'm going to be getting on a plane and going down to Houston, Texas tomorrow and try to find some more of them.
What excites me the most about all of this and looking back on it is, and again, like we were talking to the guy that probably is the #1 overall pick, so I don't want to slight him, but it was Brock Wilken without being asked. We asked him about his uncle, and we should have. Guy was a pro, and it's his dad's brother, Chris, but we didn't even ask him about his travel coach, and he mentioned his travel coach. Now, most guys are glad to talk about their travel coaches when you mention them, but he makes it clear that without Jimmy Osting, I'm not where I am. I think for me, in a weird twist of all this great stuff that we were able to learn in these 2 interviews, that may be my favorite moment. Him mentioning the fact that without Jimmy Osting, he's not having an impact in college this quick. I love that.
Well, it's so funny because he said it, right? He's like, travel teams are so different now. There are guys who are flying in. You don't necessarily practice together. The chemistry is there, but it's not quite like when you spend 4 years with the same group of guys. I know that I did that. I played travel ball for almost a decade, and that was my family, thick as thieves, and you can't imagine life without them. And then on top of that, mentioning Jimmy and what that program has meant to him and what he's done for him. I mean, you can just tell, like, the roots are deep, and he doesn't take it for granted what travel ball has meant to him. I mean, you and I were just coming off Jupiter a couple of weeks ago and get to see really the impact the travel ball has on these guys, and why at the end of it, you see guys tearing up and crying and getting emotional, because that is the people that they grow with, for better or worse. They see every side of you and they love you anyway. And that's really rare to find. So I totally agree. I love that he mentioned Jimmy. He was the captain, by the way, of that Ostingers team when he played for it. And then, of course, with Cruz, again, just the maturity that he's shown. I'm excited for him to be a leader and for his voice to matter, because I in my very humble opinion, I think that he has a voice that a lot of people would be interested in hearing. And I think that he's earned the trust of Jay Johnson to use it. And I'm excited to see how far this team can go. I know that they had some, I think they had a lot of injuries last year. They've got some buildup this year. Jay Johnson in his 2nd season in the SEC. Like, there's a lot of excitement around the team, as Dylan talks about. But don't forget, he's always well fed. He's really well fed. That's the lesson here, that no matter what, Dylan Cruz is well fed. So that's what I took away from this podcast.
Yeah, he's well fed. I took that away. He's well fed, but it's like there's a budget that goes into that well fed if the university's feeding them, right, in their athletic budget. I mean, that's a lot of lean proteins. That's a lot of spinach and vegetables, because you can eat all day long, that kind of stuff.
No fried chicken.
I'm not seeing him, grab a case of Natty Light and a bunch of candy bars on a Friday night. His face doesn't look like that. So yes, he's eating a lot. He's eating a lot, but it's the right kind of thing. My final thing on Cruz is this: like, we live in a generation. Even I know how to use this. As old as I am, even I know how to use my smartphone, for our listening people. I know how to, when I get bored, swipe through TikTok brainlessly. I know how to, check out tweets, as crazy as that can be, and all that goes into it. Trying to keep it at sports only in today's world, but. What I also know is that young people communicate really well. I mean, we all don't get it, us older generation folks. Why wouldn't you just send a text? Why don't you make a phone call from a landline? Like, we understand that you communicate through Snapchat. You have streaks with people through Snapchat. I get all that. And it's you guys, your generation, Dylan Cruz's generation, that's kind of paving the way that communication is done. That being said, dude, put your phone down and come to dinner with your teammate. I love that. I love that so much. We're not going to just snap. We're not going to zip a Snapchat to each other. That's great to have a streak going, and that's all well and good. but we're actually going to sit and break bread together. Somebody may even offer a blessing before we start. I don't know. But we're going to sit, we're going to eat, we're going to talk, we're going to tease each other. We're going to be dudes together. We're going to talk about, whatever girl we might have seen. We're going to be human beings together. And I give so much credit for a younger man like that to Kim and George's parents. Now he's got to decide to take that advice and guidance, but I give a ton of credit to his parents. So you did it with this one, Dani. It's a great podcast. And make sure you subscribe to us, because this is with what Dani's done with this and these conversations we have, man, the conversations get better and better. I don't know if you can get better than 1-1, as Jackson Holiday recently said to me on an interview about his younger brother, but I think we'll keep trying. I think we had our 1-1 on, but we'll keep trying.
I'm at a loss for words. I think you might have lost everyone when you said the word landline, but I looked past it because you talked about a Snapchat streak. So now you're just all over the place with your technology here, but you said it so well. Please follow.
I have no landline in my home, and you can't follow us, and you can't subscribe. You can't like on your landline. If you want to do that, you can't do that. Okay.
Use your smartphone.
And this isn't AM radio. You can't do that, as much as I miss it.
All right. See you later. That's enough. Goodbye, everybody.